Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. Sulaiman Rahim here, Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the seven seals. Welcome. Let's bring in our audio audience. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Welcome. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, we want to talk about one second here. Got something. Okay. Okay. Bear with me, brothers and sisters. I got a lot of equipment here I'm working. I'm doing multi-tasking, multi-live broadcast. So I'm working on it. Sisters and brothers, I want to talk about Great Seperation. Before we do, for our video audience, again, we want to remember, never forget, never ever forget the Holocaust. It's something that will remain in the memory of our people for a long, long time, maybe forever. Because there's nothing been like this. It's an unprecedented time. The unprecedented time also covers the Holocaust, because we have never went through anything like that in our entire history, the Holocaust, where the enemies are trying to downplay, put on the low, whitewash it, pretend it never happened, right? To cast doubt on it. No, the Holocaust. They want to call slavery. Look up the definition of slavery. The definition of slavery is economics, right? Working you without paying you, forcing your labor without paying you. See, that's slavery. Or maybe paying you at very minimum, because working at Burger King and Walmart, that's slavery also, because they're not giving you what you're earning, what you're producing. They're taking a profit. They're taking out a piece of what you earn. Now, I'm not going to go into details about that, but capitalism, profit is by definition now, right? Exploitation by definition, because you went out and you earn master $1,000. Master, okay, boy, you keep 200. I'm gonna keep 800. He exploits you. We're not gonna have that kind of thing in the hereafter. There'll be no profit margins and all that stuff. All that usury and all that stuff is going out with them. Anyway, when you look up definition of slavery, it does not include murder, rape, disembowelment, and all those things they did. Burning, torturing, you name it. In fact, you cannot even, in your mind, you cannot conceive of all the things they did to us, because you have to be a beast to do it. Beasts produce beasts. Angels produce animals. Angels produce angels. If they had been angels, they would have produced angels. They'd have made us angels. But they were beasts. They turned us to the beasts, into Negro butts. And then they call us niggers. Well, they made us. They must be the bigger nigger. See? Because you have to look at the manufacturer, not the product. We were not like that when we came here. They want to tell you, oh, we was bees, we was wild animals running around, and that's a lie. And we should be glad they brought us here because they civilized us. They beat us into civilization. We were so wicked and so beastly, so wild and so animalistic. They had to beat us, terrorize us to civilize us. That's the story that they're not telling you. That story they're telling their children. See, because we was cursed black by Noah to be slaves eternally, but they was more beneficent than God Himself because they chose to have mercy on us and civilize us. That's the story. That's all bullshit. Holocaust, murder, rape. See, look at that picture. That look like slavery to you? That's the Holocaust. Now it's critical race theory because they don't want their children to tell the truth about who they are and what they did. There's nothing theoretical about what they did to us. In some minds, it may be because most of you that's listening to this and most of you out there that's original have no idea what we went through because they're not telling you. I know they're not telling you. So when I was in the grammar school, they didn't tell me. They talked about Roman history, Greek history, and all that, and they glorified all the evil they did. But when it came to so-called Africa, oh boy, you wanted to hide on your desk. It was about 5 minutes, and about people running around, savages with bones in their nose like the Tarzan movies. You wanted to hide on your desk. But they glorified Rome and Greece and all those so-called empires, which were predator nations. They weren't glorified. I mean, they weren't glorified nations. They tried to give you, make you think. These people was predators, murderers. They was taking other people's stuff in the same mode as America. America's empire, how they got power, taking other people's stuff. If they're so great and so wise and so powerful and so superior, why can't they take their own home and make it into a light on the hill? How come they couldn't take Europe and make a light on the hill instead of going and taking everybody else's stuff? Because they didn't have anything. That's why they're taking everybody else's stuff. They're fleeing from Europe because they had turned Europe into a shithole after 1,000 years in the abyss. Read chapter 20, that was them. After 1,000 years in the abyss, they had turned Europe into a shithole, disease, tyranny, rape, murder, you name it. The place was diseased. It was horrific. It was a shithole. I don't know if you some of you probably too young to know what an awning is. AWNING, awning. See, you see it. I don't even see it too much anymore. It's a little thing that it's like a square umbrella that comes out from a store out to cover the sidewalk, right? So you can walk under it, right, and you'd be in the shade, right? Or if it's raining, you can walk under it so you won't get wet. It's called an awning, and they roll it out when it's raining, or you just roll it out for so you can walk under the shade. Well, you know where that came from? That came out of Europe because they didn't have running water and things like that. See? You know they had unusual love for dogs, but they didn't have running water and stuff like that, right? And they had multiple story buildings, right? And so they had to do potty and that kind of stuff, right? They didn't have no outdoor thing like, what you call the outhouse, but they may have had those, right? But they mostly did their potty in right there in their apartment. And how they got rid of it, they threw it out on the street. The streets was covered with feces. That's where you get that thing about, what's that, Ivanhoe or whatever, he was supposed to be so, he put his coat down the street so the woman could walk across it, because it was nothing but manure. The streets was full of it, manure and piss. See, let's not try to be straight. It's shit and piss. It was covered. And they put the orange out because if you was walking down the street, right, you might get the Holy Ghost. A full splash. That's where it comes from. Or they brought disease, all that stuff out. The people here in America didn't have as much as a common cold. And that comes from dogs. Their unusual love for dogs. That's because dogs catch colds. That's how every time you get a cold, remember, it comes from dogs. See? And so it almost wiped out the population here just from that. So don't let them try to whitewash this thing. Don't tell me slavery. That was just a small percentage, 10. One say 10%, some say 1. It's a very small percentage of what actually what we're involved in. It didn't involve murder, rape, all the stuff that you see in that picture there. That was 99% of what we went through in 40 years. The horror cost 400 years plus of horror, total horror, 24/7, 365, right? 400 plus, right? Nearly 500 years, and nearly some estimates of 200 million of us went through it, day and night, no rest. Total horror. From one part of the day to the next, all day long. And they won't say, well, it was a slave. No. Slaves all over the world. No. And their icons, they glorify Rome and Greece and all those type of places. And they glorified their monsters like Washington and Jefferson. They was rapists. They was pedophiles. They don't want you to hear that, but that's what they were. They had hundreds of slaves, and they was raping them. And how did they keep them? How did they keep all slaves under control? They call them slaves, right? How did they keep them under control? They turned them into Negro butts. Took 64 years to do that. You know what a Negro butt is? A Negro butt is what they transform us from Kuta Kinte into Toby. Took 64 years to do it. A Negro butt. So he come out, he's fully programmed to self-destruct at master's will, at his whim, right? Not to ask any questions, to obey master no matter what, not to think. That's what, and if you caught thinking, they will kill you. And they would know because you need thought, you need words, right, to think. If your vocabulary went above the 5, 6, 7 words they told you, like yes, master, okay, master, which women do, master. If your vocabulary went above that, it means you knew you was thinking until you was dead. Or thinking loud. This is what happened. See, 20 some years of this. And then they said, it was animals. Well, if it was animals, then why was you raping animals? That makes you be guilty of bestiality. Bestiality. See, no, you can't get away from this. They say, oh, they was good people in their time. You know, brothers and sisters, there's a big whitewash. You have no idea what they did, what they was capable of doing. You can't even imagine it because you have to be a beast to imagine it. And now they want their children to know about critical race theory. I want to teach my children this. Why you don't want your children to know your history? Why you don't want your children to know your history? Why don't you want to know? If you so glorify, so everything, right? See, you came out of Europe, read chapter 20, Revelation, very careful, that's them. They came out, Gog and Magog, America, Britain, they covered the whole world, 2 world empires, only been 2, European world empire, took everybody's stuff, deceived the whole world, caused destruction and deception everywhere they went. They didn't have anything, so they took from everybody else. It was envious. Africa, over here, when they discovered over here, every place they just took it. If they had things, then why need to take ours? And Europe was a shithole they was fleeing from. They tell you they was fleeing from religious persecution, tyranny. They was fleeing from it. That's why the place was a shithole. That's what they say. They didn't have anything. But the problem is that they was what they was fleeing from, because they bought that shit all over the world. They bought it everywhere they went. They didn't find disease and poverty and tyranny everywhere they went. They didn't find that. They found hegemony, harmony, primarily everywhere they went. And then they sold their demons. That's what we're going to talk about. See, because they didn't come out with their women, they came out with them and they raped the women, right? And they produced their hybrid seed demons, which are them in just another skin tone. And that was causing confusion in all the nations. Because all of a sudden, you had this nation that was in harmony, hegemony. All of a sudden, now you got confusion, you got strife, you got dissatisfaction. Why? Because you got 2 natures. You got two natures going on now. When you only have 1 nature, you got 2 now. You got the Aboriginal nature. Then you got the devil nature. that they sow their seed, the chaff. See, and their heart is towards devils. So now I want democracy. I want capitalism. I want all this sick stuff that you think is so great that you won't find in the Bible nowhere, but God wasn't too smart enough to figure that they were smarter than God. And when God strictly says he's against all that stuff, because Jesus is not a Democrat. He ain't no Democrat. He says his way is the only way. That's what the Bible says. He's going to be your king forever. He ain't going to be no voting. See, but they tell you that's a dictator. And we got to get rid of dictators. You don't get it, brothers and sisters, because you're a Negro, and you have no idea. You're not supposed to question anything. That's not supposed to think. See, we start thinking, they send the demons in after your terror butts to keep you in fear, because they need fear to keep this system going. They keep fear to keep you in line, to keep you programmed. They terrorized us. The only way you could keep the system going is with terror. Absolute terror. It was an absolute terror for over 400 some years. So if you want to keep going with this slavery stuff, you know who's pushing this? Them and the demons. Your black-faced devils that look like you, walk like you, but they ain't you. Skin folk. The scripture tells half of the blacks in America are demons. That's what we're going to talk about here. Half, because there was unrelenting, incessant rape, nonstop for 400 years, but yet still, we're supposed to be animals, so why are you raping animals? See, why are you raping animals, Mr. Washington? Why are you raping animals, Mr. Jefferson? You know, you're such a good person. You're going to wake up in a minute, brothers and sisters, but we're going to talk about separation. I just want to make sure we're going to keep letting you know there was a Holocaust. Stop talking that slavery stuff. Don't let them sell that stuff to you. See? Let's move on, brothers and sisters. Now, as I mentioned, you got this great separation coming. See? I'm going to try to explain it as well as I can in simplest terms. The scriptures talk about the chaff sown amongst the wheat. I'm talking about the wolves in sheep clothing. You have the book of Mark that talks about the demons, Legion, Louis Eugene Grounds, I didn't know why backwards, that's Farrakhan, right? The demons said, we are many. They're trying to tell you the demons are some kind of spiritual thing you can't see. See, the only religion that really pushes that idea is Christianity. Because the whole idea was to blind you, right, from your foresight. Because the scripture is written for your foresight. See, that's why it was sealed to keep them from distorting it. Because they destroyed as much as they could, but that's why it's sealed down, because they could not break those seals. So only one person could do it. See? Because that's your foresight. See? But they telling you that's your hindsight, all stuff happened in the past. That's what they're trying to tell you. And then some of you are buying it. That's your foresight to tell you what's happening. So, when you see Mark, the book of Mark is telling you, right, that there was this man, he was deemed possessed. See? And so, like, you got people like Lion Farrakhan want to tell you, oh, well, that means some spiritual. No. Again, there's no spiritual realm. There's no spiritual realm. That's the lie. Christianity is the only religion that really pushes that idea. Because the other ones, like Hinduism, at least you got some idols, something that you can see, right? But they put spiritual realm like something that beyond that you can see, whatever, because they want to take you out of reality. They want to separate the creator from his creation. They want to take you out of reality. Then they can control you, because you can't do anything once you're taken out of reality. You can't produce anything. You can't control anything, because you have to face reality. But they in contact with reality. They in touch with reality. They're in sync with reality. Because everything they've beaten you with is out of reality, out of mathematics. Everything they control you with, not control you with angels, and demons and pitchforks you can't see and things out of 10th dimension. They control you with things that's here in this reality. See, they control you with things. They tell you that no. There's a special reality that you got to believe in. See, that you don't know anything about, you can't see, you can't touch, right? But there's a special reality, right, that's beyond this reality. And when your mind is there, while your mind is there, they control you with this reality. When they throw you in jail, they don't send you to this 10th dimension. They put you in a physical thing that you can see, you can touch. And you can't tell them, oh, well, some spirit made me do it, because they tell you that's a real reality. But if you tell them that that reality affected your decision or your emotion or whatever, your attitude or whatever, your agenda, whatever you was doing, right, your actions, they ain't going to hear it. They're not hearing that. But they tell you that's real. It's more real than this. See? Because as long as they got you doing that, they're going to control you and rule you. They're going to take your power from you, which they are doing, because you had lost power. For the last 600 years, you was powerless. But now your power is coming back to you. But power is energy, disciplined energy, or disciplined pressure. That's what it's called. Pressure and energy, same thing. But discipline, that turns into power. It's like having $1 million, right? Two people have $2 million. One's invested, disciplined with it, and the other one just spurging. And you see what's going to happen. How the two end up. One's going to end up with nothing, homeless. The other one's going to be empowered. And that's what they're trying to do. They're telling you your energy to waste it watching Wes and Beyonce and running around drinking and smoking and vaping and all that stuff. See, which is undisciplined behavior, right? Which you take and you spending you're blowing away your energy, because each one of us get the same amount of energy every day, no exceptions. They say, oh, he got $1 billion, where you don't understand the mathematics because it comes out the same. But I'm not going into details about that. So how you spend your energy, that's real currency, not money. Money is deception, illusion. The real currency, because if you sit around and you 20 years old, right, and you got $1,000, the other guy, he's 90 years old, he's got $1 billion. I guarantee you, in a heartbeat, that if he could trade place with you, he would. He's 80 years old, he's got $1 billion. You're 20 years old, you got $1,000. He would trade place with you in a heartbeat. See? Because he's turned his youth into $1 billion. You still got your youth. I mean, it's kind of simplistic, but exactly that's really what happens. See? So he's got cancer and all this other stuff, and you're youthful. So what would you rather have? Would you rather be youthful and healthy, or 80 years old and cancerous, can't see, and got $10 billion? Which one would you rather be? You better think about that one. The money's an illusion. And we're going to put an end to it before long. So they got you in the spiritual realm where they control you. And they keep you from being empowered, because once you become empowered, they're through. They know it. So they got the demons, they're black-faced devils, they're children, they're in full mode, full throttle to keep you from obtaining power. They just get you to blow your energy, right? Frivolously, so you don't never gain power with it, because you understand that. See? And they tell you that your natural religion, Islam with its mathematics, now that's Sunni stuff, it's no good. You're supposed to hate that. But you're supposed to love the religion that enslaved you, beat you, and took you through Holocaust for 40 years. Now, why would you do that unless it was programmed? They program you to think, well, not to think, but to accept that whatever they say, no matter how ignorant, how illogical, because you're not thinking, so logic doesn't make any sense to you. See? If you start thinking, all that stuff will go in the trash can so fast, because none of it make any sense, because your brain will not accept it. They can give you a false mind, which they have given you Christianity, because religion is a software. They give you software that tells you that nothing is real. That's what Christianity tells you. Nothing is real. Everything happens after you die. Spiritual and everything else. Nothing's real. And no matter what you do, all you got to do is believe in Jesus and it's washed away. That goes against the fundamental principle of the universe. The fundamental principle of the universe is consequence. There's no exception. Never has been, never ever will be. Every action has opposite equal reaction. Period. That's justice. But they tell you that, oh no, Jesus can wash away that. See? That's total bullshit. They got your mind and they got you in a fog. In a belief matrix. It's not real. That's how they're controlling you. Because once you stop doing that and you start thinking, start asking questions, and come back and invest your money in the 5 fundamental mathematical principles, right, and upload the angel, which is your mind, your real mind. It tells you, Mark and in Daniel, that your mind had to be restored to you. They took your mind from you. Once happens, they're through. That's a little stone that crushes everything. And they do it full time to make sure it never happens. So you got these celebrities, demons. They're all in Master's house. You understand? They would not be in Master's house if they wasn't thinking and acting and believing like Master. They're waving the flag. Remember George Foreman? Oh man, he waved the flag, all that kind of stuff. See? They're waving the flag because if they stand up and say anything that Master don't like what, they're coping that guy, you don't hear no kind of voice like this on the news. You're never going to hear it on anywhere. They're never going to let you happen. And they'll stop this one if they see it getting anywhere. They'll shut this one down if they see it getting anywhere. Get more than 5 or 6, 10 listeners, and they detect it. Boom. Because they're not going to let this kind of information be out. And this is true. Everything I said is absolute truth. But you're not going to hear it. You hear their version, hear what their demons have to say. They bring them out, roll them out. This Herschel guy, Herschel Walker, and all these people, Denzel, Jay-Z, Ice-T, Ice Cube, all these people. They're all demons. They can talk that stuff they want to, but watch, look what they do. They sell you out for money every day, make it look like fools on TV. That's not our image. That's not us. Gangsters. We're not gangsters. We've never been gangsters. All that crap going in Chicago, that's their children. The scripture tells you there's 2 natures. There's that spiritual nature and there's that flesh nature. They're not talking about some spirit out beyond sun, moon, and stars. They're talking about the spirit of truth. And tell you that they describe those natures. One of them is lustful, murderous, and everything else. And one is peaceful and righteous, disciplined. Of course, take discipline to turn energy into power. Take discipline to turn pressure into power. That's what righteousness is. When the Bible talks righteousness, that's just biblical form of saying discipline. Just like every action, just like reap what you sow is the same thing as every action has opposite but equal reaction. God said you reap what you sow. So he's a liar now. So Jesus said, hey man, you don't know what you're talking about. Just believe in me and you don't reap what you sow anymore. So it's the great separation has to take place, brothers and sisters. It says Suleiman or Jesus or Joshua, whatever you want to call him, it was the first thing. He had to, in order to raise Lazarus, he had to first separate the demons from him. Not some, read Mark, those are not no spiritual, like Farrakhan's trying to tell you, well, they're some kind of spiritual defect. No, there was real people that Jesus was talking to. Said, my name is Legion. We are many. Said, please don't make me lead the country. Because they want to stay with Master. And he says, oh, let me go over into swine daddies over here. Let me go back to my swine daddies. So Jesus let them go to swine dad, as long as they got away from the man. Let them go to swine daddies, and what happened? Then they ran off the cliff together. Got in a fight. That's a war. That's another story. So that's the thing, because for 600 years, you had the demon hordes went undetected. They had a free reign all over the planet. We not just suffer with demons. We got the worst case here. They're the cancer of the planet. What is cancer? Do you understand how cancer works? The cells, the cancer, the bad cells, and what they do is they cover themselves with the DNA of the good cells. So when the antibodies come looking, searching, it sees that thin veneer of good DNA, so it thinks it's a good cell, so it leaves it alone. That's why it's so hard to get rid of cancer. That's why they can't come into vaccines and stuff. They have to hit it with radiation. They killing good cells in the process. They have to kill good cells to get to the bad cells. That's why Elijah was told, don't try to separate the chaff from the wheat. No, don't do that. We'll do that Suleiman do at the harvest, because you might hurt the wheat in the process trying to get rid of the chaff, because they look almost so much alike. The same idea with antibodies, because in other words to get rid of the cancer cells, you got to kill a lot of the good cells too, because they can't separate them out, because they look like the good cells, but they go around destroying all the good cells until the cancer is so great it destroys the whole body. They kill themselves in the process. That's the nature of it. And that's the nature of these demons. They spread all over the planet. You go to South America, most people there are light skinned. They don't show the real dark ones. How'd they get like that? They was dark as me when they came over here. You go to India, same thing. The real dark Indians, you don't even see them. Some of them are blacker than Africans. Those are the real Indians in India. All over the planet they did that. They sowed their seed, and so it caused confusion everywhere. Because once they did that, you had two natures. Then they got two natures. See, and they use that now to take and invade countries. Stuff. Say, we got to go in there and save them, man, because they Democrats. See, they democratic, and they love peace, and they whatever. They love capital. They love America. So we got to go in. What's your business anyway? See. But that's what, because they didn't have that before. See? And so you got like a place like China, they're getting rid of all their demons. See? Because you say, well, anybody's against, well, what's wrong? See, well, everybody can have freedom. See, they don't want freedom of speech. They want freedom of speech only if you're speaking well about them. Now that truth is coming out, they don't want freedom of speech anymore. That's the real target of this freedom of speech thing, because truth is coming out. The real target is me. And it's truth. They can't just come out and ban me for that. They have to make sure, get the whole thing, and then I'll be in the, see, I'm the real target. Because truth is hurting. It says Suleiman will destroy them, right? With the truth. Because you haven't heard any truth in this country until Master Muhammad set foot on the shores of America. That's the first truth you ever heard. That's why I call him the Lord of the Dawn. That was the dawn of truth in America. That's why I call him Lord of the Dawn, because he's the dawn of truth in America. And shone that light on Elijah Muhammad, he was like the moon that reflect that light until Suleiman would come, right? And he would be the sun rising. See? Because that would melt all, because we're in the spring thaw right now. But we have to separate those demons out, because you didn't know you was having that plague. I said they had free reign for like 70 years, undetected. Nobody. You didn't hear people already talk about demons. Now people talk about demons more and more now. They was kind of fictitious thing. People possessed by demons and stuff. Demons had us destroying ourselves. So it had us destroying ourselves. They said, Bar, he was beating himself and everything else. They wanted to bow to Jesus. They came and attempted to, and then they just say, hey, hold, can't be doing that. Well, what are you doing here? Why you mess with us? What business you have with us, see? But that didn't last very long. But Jesus called them out, made him tell who he was, exposed them, and then he dispatched them. So that says not going to happen. This is going to happen this year, brothers and sisters. It'll happen in a few more days, because when the war breaks out in the Middle East, that is what's going to trigger Armageddon, not this Ukraine, Russian thing. That falls in the category of wars and rumors of wars. When that happens, that's when the Ancient of Days sets with lamb wool's hair. That's not Master Muhammad, and not Farrakhan. It's someone else. That's messenger of the covenant. He sits at his time the beast is being destroyed. And he says that's when he raised up a ladder, because millions ministered to him. And there's probably 17 million original people in America today. So that's, he raised Lazarus. That time the beast is about to be destroyed or being destroyed, right? and he cast down thrones. That means that's all those demons that's taking over the NOI. See, now he sits. He raises Lazarus. It means ministering to him. Because that's the only thing Master Muhammad is waiting for. You think about this, brothers and sisters. They are admitting that those things that used to hide, talk about, say they didn't exist, so-called UFOs, they're officially admitting, they're having meetings and stuff about it, right? Congress and everything having whatever about them, right? And they said they exist. They have pictures of them. They said they understand how they work. They're like millions of years ahead of what they have. They do things that they say it's against physics. No, it's not. It's not against physics. It's against the physics they understand. See? Now ask yourself a question. They can't touch them. Every time they get near them, they get destroyed. China and Russia sent their best missiles and jet planes up after them, and they got destroyed. America's done the same thing, but they won't admit it. America's done the same thing, they won't admit it. They can't get anywhere near them. So who controls the skies, brothers and sisters? Who controls the skies? Ask yourself that question. Who controls the skies? They said they're going around all their nuclear plants, right? Their nuclear facilities where they got, the silos and stuff, they got their bombs and stuff, and they neutralize them. They said they say all over the place. They said they've been, in the last few years, they've been all over the place, right? Their nuclear facilities, it's neutralized. So they're going to pull that nuclear trigger, going to get blanked. So who is in control, brothers and sisters? Who is in control? Ask yourself. See, if you got, look, you said first start asking questions, then start deprogramming yourself. Because right now you can't deprogram because you can't ask yourself that question. Because as soon as you ask the questions, the terror bus come in, that's masses, demons. They come in to check you. Hey, brother, what's wrong with you? Hey, dog, what's wrong with you, dog? You ain't up on the NFL anymore? Right? You ain't been to church lately? See? And don't change your name, man. Oh, man, what's going on? Hey, bro. Hey, dog. Hey, man, what's that all about? You them Muslims? See, because and then they go right to work, intervention, everything else, get you, parents, everything. What's wrong with you? And if they can't get you, they can't reboot you, reprogram you, get you back online, then the process start to deactivate you. Figure what that means. This is what's going on, brothers and sisters, because they don't want you waking up. They don't want you waking up. This is what's going on. It's going on full steam. They're not playing. Okay? So ask yourself, who is in control? The only reason why Master Muhammad is waiting, it tells you, because he's waiting for Suleiman to raise Lazarus. The only thing he's waiting for, that's the only thing he's holding this thing up. And they're doing everything they can to make sure you don't rise. It's not going to work. Because this truth, see, that false software is running. They got to run your mind. But see, when you take Apple software and try to put on how do you work a regular laptop, right? That should be running Windows. They might get on it. It might get to work a little bit. It's not going to work that well because the hardware is not. It was not built for that type of hardware. So Christianity was not built for our hardware. See, that's why the demons is built for their hardware. As the Quran says, all of them would believe in that nonsense before they die. That's one way you identify a demon. But it won't work well on your hardware. See, so you be, you kind of quirky. So you kind of like, you don't want to go to church that much. You kind of like cross-eyed at the preacher, right? You kind of like go back and say, let me check what he said in the Bible. See, because something ain't adding up. See, or you just dismiss it altogether. You know what I'm talking about. Because you got, and then you got the other ones, the demons. They're down with it, man. Yeah, I'm down with Jesus. I'm down with church. Come on. They want you every 5 minutes. See? And they don't believe in any of it. And they sure don't discipline, follow the laws of the church. They eat more pork than pork. Eating shitlins, which is shit, That's what they call it back then, because that's where it is. Anybody eat them, and they cook them. That's where it is. That's where they fed us during the Holocaust, which is still going on now. They fed us shit. The stuff they used to throw away. They said, we ain't gonna throw it away. Remember, capitalism, slavery is maximum profit, minimum overhead. And people saying 100% profit. Those mean that. That's incorrect. Maximum profit, minimum overhead. Get the language right. See? If we're going to represent this, get the language right. It's maximum profit and minimum overhead, not 100% profit. That's the difference. So they said, well, they was throwing that stuff away, throwing it in the garbage. When they killed the hog, they took the guts and the intestines, all that kind of stuff. They threw that away. They won't eat that stuff. They said, well, we got these niggas, we give it to them. And that's what they gave you to eat. And they fed, and sometimes they even cook it. And they fed you just like they feed hogs in a trough. And you can even Oprah, and she's a demon, but at least one thing I give it to her. She published that on the internet, right? It's on YouTube. It's called Slavery Letters or whatever, where they told you that's how they fed you. Not with a spoon and a fork, not with a plate, but just the same as they fed a hog in a trial. And you had to fight with each other because you had enough to eat. And you was lucky if they even tried to attempt to cook it. And they sure didn't take time to wash it and get the shit away from the shitlings. So they said, you so damn stupid. What we're going to do is we're going to still give it to them because they ain't on the farm anymore. They're on the plantation. So we're going to change the S to a C because they can't read anyway. They stupid. Because they know what they may they transform you into. Just like, I mean, and you buy it. And I got it, man. I love chitlins, man. I ain't gonna eat Aunt Sarah's chitlins because she don't clean. You can't clean shit. I ain't mad at your brother and sister because I know what they done to us. Now, I ate chitlins when I was growing up. My father, there was nothing on the hog that my father didn't eat. But he converted just before he passed, right? I thought things changed, but I didn't know what he was doing, right? Because he passed, I was about 14. I was 14 actually. And he was converting it. I didn't know what he was doing, but I know the menu changed. And I was glad, because pig brains and eggs, it wasn't happening with me, right? But my old man, I was afraid of that man. He called me, hey boy, let's have some chow down. I was sick of that. Oh man. See? So yeah, we been through the whole thing. See? So I ain't trying to be holy. I wasn't born from a virgin. I don't walk on water. See? I've been through all the BS you've been through, probably 10 times more in many cases. See? So we ain't mad at you. We're just trying to get you out of here, brothers and sisters. Trying to get you away from this madness before it's too late. That's my job. Mention the covenant. That's what I'm teaching you about, the covenant. What they're not telling you about. So they got you, just think about it. The same thing goes over, with religion. They got you doing things that totally makes no sense. Eating food that's garbage. This actually shit. See? And all the stuff they tell you. They tell you, well, they got you want to kill all the dictators in the world. When their own Bible tells you that the Jesus they tell you about is a dictator, is only do it his way. If you don't do it his way, he's the only way. He's going to be a king forever. No voting. And not only that, if you don't do it this way, he's going to put your ass in hell forever and ever and ever without end, because you was too stupid to figure out that you got to believe in him. And that not only believe in him, but you better obey him 5,000%. 5,000%. Any deviation, and your ass is going to. And that's a dictator's night. That's dictator's wet dream. And you tell me, don't you see what's wrong with that, brothers and sisters? That's why it says they gather together to make war with God, because they teach you to make war with the real God. See? And because the God they actually serving is Satan. Jesus told you that. He's the God of this world. And when he confronted Jesus in the desert, hey, he rolled up on him, hey, bro, Hey, dog. I mean, I see you kind of hungry, thirsty right there, man. You ain't got to be going through all that. See? See? Just hang with me, bro. And I'll give you control all the kingdoms. Did he say all the kingdoms except America? Did he say that? Or he said all of them? Get real, brothers and sisters. They don't want you to hear this kind of stuff. They shut me down so many times. I don't care. I'll just keep on going because they can't shut this down. Because if they try to close this door altogether, their end will come so fast. So try it. I dare you. Try to shut it down altogether. Try it. Try it. I double dare you. Try to shut me down altogether. I double dare you. I triple dare you. I guarantee your ass will be torn up overnight. Now make me a liar out of me. So you can't destroy consequence. And I'm your consequence of all you've been doing. You produce me. I'm your consequence, what you've been doing. You produce me. You produce the judge and produce the executioner. Because we the result of your consequence. We are your consequence. And you can't destroy consequence. I've been on your ass for 30-some years. You made some efforts. You even tried to put me down a few times. You ain't doing that anymore, are you? Because you don't even want to think about succeeding in doing that. Because God, the God of this world, you can't touch him. You see him, he's robbing all of the skies. He's doing whatever he want to do. He comes wherever he wants to go. And you can't touch. You say, I can't touch. I don't know what he's doing. He's got so much power. Try to tell me some kind of alien or something. So some alien come from 10 billion miles or 12 trillion miles out of space just to come around and have 50, 60 years vacation just watching you? Come on. No. Elijah Muhammad told you exactly who he is. The Bible tells you exactly who he is. And Ezekiel about the will tell you exactly who he is. Elijah Muhammad told you exactly. I'm telling you exactly who he is. Right? That's our God, who stands for Israel, Michael. In case you try to make a move, which you are going to try to make a move. You're going to try to make a move in a few more days because you're preparing right now. Preparing right now. We know what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. AL-INJIL reveals everything. I know exactly all your plans, exactly what you're doing. You're making moves right now. See? Our people just can't see it because let's deal with them shrewdly. I'm trying to wake them up to you. See, but you're trying to make a move. You're trying to make moves. And you're going to try to make a real big move in a few more days when false Israel is taken down, when the war breaks out in the Middle East, not over in Russia and all that. It's going to trigger Armageddon, which is European war, but it's not in Ukraine. That's not going to trigger it. The war is about to break out in the Middle East. It's going to kick your ass. God can make American Britain kick your ass, and it's going to put false Israel under siege, which cannot happen according to if they're true to Abraham. But it said when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know it's destruction. Didn't say redemption. Didn't say it's protection or it's punishment. It said it's destruction is near. So wait a minute, hold it. I thought you said Jerusalem is Abraham's seed. I thought you said that those people over there is Abraham's seed. That's the return. That's what you're telling us. It's identity theft, but that's what you're telling us. And their return, according to prophecy, they would never be uprooted. But the scripture says, because who's controlling Jerusalem? Jerusalem is captive of what? Not the Arabs, not Iraq, not Jordan, not Syria. It's the capital of false Israel. And it's about to be destroyed. That means that proves they're not who they say they are. And that means you don't come after us because then there's no ambiguity anymore. We are true to Abraham, and then you're going to come after us. But we ain't worried about you. I'm concerned about my people that's going to be lost because of lack of knowledge, because these vipers and these like clowns out here, like Farrakhan, all these people, right? They're blocking the light. But those demons, they're through. Farrakhan will be, he'd be dispatched within a few days. There's no doubt about it. And I'm putting my word out there, bro. I don't hide my archive. You go look at the history of what I've been telling you. I'm telling you this is going to happen this year. Pretty soon. Imminent. As soon as that war breaks out there, his ass is toast. Him and all his demons. And then they out there in the void, because we don't want them. And you don't want them. So now y'all gonna go to war with each other, but that's your problem. Because we getting the hell out of here. See, because we got a promise. We got a promised land. See, that's our land over there. That's our land. They ran us off of. See, because Isaac is the one that got the promise, not Ishmael. That's no story altogether. I'm not going to go into details about that. That's our land. That's why they're trying to get us in Sunniism and all this kind of stuff, golden calf. But we have to separate those demons out, because they cause all the confusion amongst us. See, because we role models, and you're in love with them. Call them King James and Kobe and Magic and whatever, and Denzel and what's that clown on CNN, and all these people, right? They ain't your people. They're in Master's house. And they better wave that flag too, but they won't be in there very long. They're in Master's house. They don't care nothing about you. See, all their whole job is to make sure you stay programmed. That's the whole job. That's what they do. They're in Master's house. They're not your people. They're skin folk. And Master's using them because he don't want them either. But they're useful tools to keep us in line with terror. They use the guile, propaganda, but terror is their main weapon, because they terrorize all our communities. That's the little ones. They're in your community, stealing, killing, and all this stuff, raping. That's them. Keep you on terror. So then you start hating yourself because you don't know who they are. You think, oh man, niggas. Because you start hating yourself, calling yourself niggas and stuff. And that's not you. So you terrorize. You're afraid of your own people because you don't know who is what. That's the problem with wolves in sheep clothing. That's why the sheep start being suspicious of the other sheep. Man, somebody's doing something around here. Something wrong. I mean, sheep keep coming up missing. So now sheep terrorized. And they're scared of each other. See? Somebody had to come in and move those wolves out the way and restore peace and harmony amongst the sheep. Because we are peace and harmonic people. We're peaceful people. That's part of the reason why they was able to keep us in captivity for 400 some years. Because we just submitted. Because we have faith, we have strength. I mean, submission has a limit, right? Because we should have stood up a little more to protect our women. We weren't told. See, we was told to submit to their enslavement. We wasn't told to submit to their oppression. We weren't told to submit to their oppression. It says, told angels, we're the angels, to submit to Adam. So we submitted. The Arabs, jinn, they did not. They're fighting against it constantly for the last 500 years. But we did. See? We submitted to the enslavement part. But they pulled out the Holocaust card. We weren't told to submit to that. And some of us didn't. Some of us had enough balls, but we ended up getting our throat stretched, eyes plucked out. See? Hot iron stuck about our rectum. Oh man, they did it. They did it. See? There's no end to the depths of their evil. Your Farrakhan said, what reason why he wanted to bring them in the wild? Because that was his people. Those his people. He loved and kissing off saying any devils anymore. That's because those his people. That's why he's doing it. But he's about to go. See? So put it this way. I was saying how we weren't supposed to submit. No, we weren't. I'm going to put it another way. We were supposed to submit to enslavement, but no one asked us to submit to that Holocaust. And some of us just stand up and rebel, and our women caught the worst of it. But it's these demons. But I know some of these brothers, and they kind of have. I've had trouble with sisters. I mean, I've been married a couple. I've been married at least one demon. I know for sure. See? But these sisters have a right to be angry. They have a right to be angry because no matter what the situation is, it's still our responsibility to protect them. So they went through this Holocaust with us, or we wouldn't be here. And they had to fight. They was warriors all the way. Because if it was up to Master, all of us would be demons. He was raping them from the time they could damn near be born, college and everything else. They don't tell the whole truth about it. And I'm going to close this in a minute. But one example I try to tell people, right? Because they got this thing, I always forget the name of it. It's an English term. And if y'all watch that movie Braveheart, right, where he refused to go along with that idea, because the idea was that the nobles, if you wanted to get married, the plebes and the serfs, whatever, if you wanted to get married, he had to sleep with your wife the first night. He had to deflower her, so to speak. And he refused to do it. That's the whole story of the movie is about. So I forget what they call that term. I should just write it down somewhere because I always forget it. But they applied the same thing over here. See? Because they tell you, I don't know if anyone you watched that movie 60 Minutes Sunday, that was a total whitewash. I probably wasn't this last Sunday, probably the last Sunday before. I can't remember. Right? But they was talking about this guy, he ended up buying us the house that he was actually enslaved in. And they had one part in there where it says the man had like 80, 90 slaves, right? See the big whitewash? And he said in the back of the house, I know it's because my uncle down in North Carolina, when I talked to him about it, I was a kid, because they said, how come you ask so much questions? Because nobody asks about stuff. He told us about how it's set, and they had the same setup. Matt's house behind was the slave quarters and everything else, right? Same setup, exact. They said that was pretty much the same. I'm not sure what state that was in that this happened. I think it was in Virginia, right? And I got family. Well, anyway. So he says he had 80 some slaves, right? But said in the back there was the house where slaves was. It wasn't the house. It was a shack. I mean, it was a piece of shit, really. It had no floor or anything. It had two rooms, right? And so he says, oh, well, one was one family and another for another family. I said, wait a minute, hold it. You just told me this something don't add up here. He said the man had 80 some slaves. It was 80 or more plus slaves, at least 80. And that was their slave quarters right there. That was it. One but one slave quarters right there. And he said, one was side of one family and one other side was another family. I said, wait a minute, now how does that work? You mean you tell me that if you had 80 slaves, that means 40 was on one family and 40 another family? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And is that what you're trying to tell me? It wasn't that big anyway. But he said, that's going to add up. Because the truth of the matter is, what they want to tell you is that they didn't put the women, and they didn't do that. They put the women on one side and the men on the other side. Because they didn't want you having any contact with your female unless they permitted it. That's where so-called marriage license comes in. Because you got to get their approval to be with your own women. Because they had carte blanche over them. You see that whole thing in the movie Django? Then they had to kill another black person in order to get a beer and half a minute with Sarah, whoever. They use that as a incentive. See, in other words, if you had to pick 5 bales of cotton a day, well, if you pick over 6 or 7, then you could see with Sarah on the weekend. It was an incentive. And sisters had to go around and sneak and everything to be with you, so we'd be here today. But their life was in danger because Master found they was sleeping with you, whatever, without his permission. I mean, they didn't have slave farms. I mean, where they would have breeding things, right? But they did without permission, and most of that was for like breeding soldiers. I mean, not soldiers, but people, to go out and to fight others, for that type. So it went for breeding actual slaves to work in the field. See, but they did have breeding things, right? But they get the big, strong ones. They want to use them to produce children. They can go out and fight and hunt and all that stuff they was doing with them. See? But well, I'm going to put another. I don't want to go another direction with this. Well, anyway, the sisters had to sneak and do everything else, right? They didn't even have any connection with us. Because some of us so pathetic, they was raping these sisters so relentlessly, so incessantly, that they would just go in and then have you hold her down while they rape her. I just want to give you one thing they would do. And they had this movie, Alice or something they just put out not so long ago, where the guy kept telling, it's Sunday. It's Sunday. Now, we're supposed to be beasts, right? We're supposed to be animals, but they were sleeping, right? And that meant that, she had to take care of him. He said, I was trying to be nice to you. See, and it's Sunday. So they'd come and say, hey, Alice, come here, Alice. It's time. Time what, master? It's time. See? So go get Sarah. Here's Sarah's about 11 years old, 9 years old, whatever, right? Gotta go get Sarah. Now, Sarah's got to stand right there for Alice. And this creep is naked. And she got to satisfy his every creepy urge right in front of Sarah. Sarah's 8 or 9 years old, might be younger than that. Because she's showing Sarah what she's got to do to please Master. That's what she's doing. Then after she gets finished, okay, now, Sarah, you do what you saw Mommy do. And she got to sit there and correct, no, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. While this creep is sitting back. So you got to train, and then she trained to do this kind of stuff that was going on. Worse than that. A punishment. One slave would defecate in another slave's mouth, then he put something over so he couldn't spit out for 2 or 3 days, maybe a week or more. And now you find these creeps, they love and master. Okay? Negro butts. I know the demon's going to love them anyway. I go to the gym, 99% of over 10, 15 people come there, every one of them got a devil on their arm. And one of us, at first I was like, I said, it's kind of, what? Let's start counting. Almost all of them. See? Just forget about all that these people have done. But like I'm saying, the demons are in Master's house. And I get rid of them. Because their whole idea is to keep you thinking that you can be. That's what Masters do. See, he have his children, his black-faced children in the house. And what he would do is he would say, and that was the part of the thing too, right? If you be a good nigga, you work real hard. See, remember, you had incentive to sleep with Sarah on the weekend, right? But if you be good, you could be in the house like them. He know you was never going to get in that house because he couldn't trust you. You might be a nigger, but just like a lion, you might have him trained up. But you don't know, he might revert any second. You can't trust him. You can't sleep around him. He can trust his children because they loved him. They was upset because they weren't being treated like the rest of his children. That's their problem. See? So I'm going to go through a little history real quick and then we're going to close out, brothers. But that was incentive. And so, or you could be like Denzel. You can be like Oprah. And you got to bust your ass trying to be like, you ain't going to never be like them. Because you have to be, first of all, you have to be what they want you to be. Because when you around them, the only reason they have anything to do with you is you got to be like them. They're not going to be like you. They're not going to be like me. I'm talking like this. They don't want to hear this. You have to be like, you have to go against yourself, your own nature to be around them. They're not going to accept you for who you are. They ain't going to do it. Ain't no way. It's not going to happen. You have to be like them. The more you like them, then they accept you. Okay. So let me go to a little brief history of brothers and sisters. Try to close this out. Probably cross the T and dot on cross the I on this. Come with these demons now. Now this demon play has been going on for like 700 years. It's all over the planet. We caught the worst of it. Oops. We caught the worst of it. So we're going to start back to the time when they claimed they stopped our slavery. See, we started getting our energy. I'm not going to go into detail mathematics behind it. We start start rising in the 1860s. And so we got enough energy to break our physical chains. They didn't go into the world to free us. That's a total lie. It was an economic situation where the North didn't want to compete with South free labor. And they tried to negotiate, tried to work with it. South wouldn't go along with it. They kept sending the slaves up north in those factories and everything else. The factory guy said, hey, if I could pay them $5 an hour, well, I got to pay you $15 an hour. And they ain't going to give me no trouble, whatever. And so eventually, right, they reached the threshold. It was just too much. They went to war. Because afterwards, they didn't do anything nice for you. They give you 4 acres of mule. They give you any land. You was out there in the streets. You had nothing. No land, no food, no clothes, nothing. They don't even tell you about that period, how you get through it. See? I don't want to go into detail. I get distracted. Move on. Anyway, you get these energy waves about every 50 years. You watch my other presentation, I explain it in detail. So that's happened in the 1860s, right? But then you had the conflict between two natures. Because the demons, master slave, they want to stay with master. They wanted sharecropping. They want to stay with master. And the original people, they wanted to get the hell out of there. They ran to the north wherever they could, Canada, any place, to get the hell away from them. Right? Okay. And 50 years later, we get to 1910, 1920s in the area. You got another energy burst. You got Noble G, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, Master Muhammad, that kind of. And then so, because we broke our physical chains, now we're breaking our mental chains. So now we start thinking. So you had two divisions again. The demons want to think Eurocentric. We need to be more like white people. You had the brown bag test, that kind of stuff. Those of you aware of that, right? You got to be more like them, talk like them, act like them. Then you had the Afrocentric. Want to get the hell out of here. Want to be bothered with that stuff. Want to start thinking. See, you had the two divisions again. It's those demons and us, the separation, because they have two different natures. And you had a conflict between the two. There's always been a conflict between the two. But you didn't know it because you thought it was conflict amongst us. See, we killing our own people and all this stuff. And that's bullshit. We don't do that. Then 50 years later, another 50 wave. You can document this, bonuses. Also, music is consistent with that because we are the creators. I'm not going to go into details about that. But music is an expression of your nature. Whose music is dominating the planet? Ours. That shows we the gods. It's our music dominating the planet. And when did our music start becoming like well, anyway, the blues. When did the blues come out? 1980s, 1880s. Because we had the blues. We knew what to do. We was cast out. We had nothing. And they threw the vipers and they threw their children, demons, because they said, y'all ain't going to live off us. That's what Master told his children. Y'all black folks, you ain't going to live off us. You live off of them. And they started living off us, the politicians and everything else, right? We had the blues. And then jazz. 50 years later. Got a coincidence? Look it up. You probably never checked it out. Yeah, because now we start feeling a little jazzy. See? Because start getting our mind, start thinking, black. See? So the original people start feeling for their blackness mentally. Demons, they're Eurocentric, you're more like white people. And that's what they're telling us. And they was hating on us then, They tell, man, what's wrong with y'all, man? They had a brown bag test, all that kind of stuff. What's wrong with y'all, man? Y'all stupid, ignorant. Should be like white people. See? Because they're demons. 50 years later, what? No, right? So-called civil rights movement. Right? Then you got another sound, Motown sound. See, the music changed again. Now we start getting with soul. See? Now we got soul. We got to start wearing froze and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. See? Because we start being proud of ourselves. We wasn't before. But what did the demons want? Integration. They want integration. See, we want separation. They want integration. See, this is every 50 years you have the process. They want to integrate. They want to get close to masses. And when they got what they wanted, they left you, because at that time we was all living in the ghetto together. They left you, went to the suburbs, left you back there, and where they send their demons are behind you, the politicians and the entertainers and all other rip-off, right? They check you and everything else. They left them back to suck your blood, the parasites. Everything I say is facts, but says you can eat a check. Because there's no bullshit zone here. Everything I say you can check. So you had that division and you had conflict between the two. Because you had the one integration, they thought something was wrong with us and they was infiltrating our organizations and turns in the FBI because we were stupid, we was ignorant, we was savages. See, because we should want to be integrate. We should want to love America. We should, Same thing going on right now. It's been going on for 50-some years. Now we're on that cycle again. And this time, it's going to be complete separation. We're going, remember in Mark, we're going. Jesus left with his people, and the demons, they wanted to stay here with Master, with swine. Complete separation. We're going home. They stand here with Master, but they're going to war with Master because Master don't want them. No matter how much they do, Master don't want them. And we definitely don't want them. We're sick of dying from the cancer of them. We're sick of being that cancer. The division and the conflict and lies, and they distorting our image all over the world. They guys looking all over the world like, the Africans don't want them either. The Africans, we take the hit because they think that's us. Jelly rolls, the woman, her ass big as the moon, and sugar all over the place with no clothes on. The man's got his nose up his ass on. All this sick stuff. That ain't us. That's them. But we take the hit because they look like us. That's why they got to be separated out. See? Be separated out. And then we'll shine. Just like it says, when it says. What did it say? When Daniel, right? It says, he delivered. It was two. Okay. He delivered those in the book. That's us. Right? That's the ones that listen to Suleiman in the Lamb's book. They was delivered. It said they would shine as the stars of heaven. See, because now they free those damn demons. See? But then there was those who left in the dust. There was two groups. They're not talking about demons here. Demons, they're already separated out. There's two groups. It's those that woke up too late, that didn't get this message in time. Because Master Muhammad, he come to deliver, he's going to take only those that are ready to deliver it. The rest, they ain't ready. They got to go through tribulation. But there's two groups there. One everlasting life, one everlasting shame and appallment. That's these vipers and all that kind of stuff that's blocking this truth. I ain't talking about Pharaoh and the demons. They got another rough road to go through before they destroy it. I'm talking about these people that's sitting right here. Now, I'm talking about these original people that's vipers, blocking this truth, liars like Ishmael, Farrakhan. So he's not a demon. He's Elijah's son, right? Farrakhan's a so-called spokesman. See, people like that. See, that blocking this truth and everything else. Everlasting shame and appallment for them. They got to go tribulation when they come out. I'm not going into details about that. And then the other group, they go through and they accept it in, but they got to go through tribulation. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We got to separate them out. The great separation, and it's about to happen. What's going to cause it to happen? See, because all the confusion is about to be. This brother, his presentation about the walls of Jericho, all these lies. The walls of Jericho represent these incessant, incredible, impregnable lies that have been told ever since we stepped on the shores of this country. We haven't been told, like I said, the Lord of dawn. You didn't get any glimmer of light until Master Muhammad showed up, the Lord of dawn. And then the lights comes on, then you see the sun start rising. That's Suleiman with the angel. We'll give your mind back. And that's going to break down the walls of Jericho. Crush them. This truth. Going to crush them. So that little stone in Daniel is going to crush all the nations, going to crush them. See? They trying to stop, they can't stop it. See? Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. See? Hope you understand. That's what's happening right now. See? But that war when it breaks out in the Middle East, see, what's going to happen is that the confusion, that part of what's going to break this wall down is this truth is doing it, but it's going to get a little bit of help. Master Muhammad. Because one of the biggest lies in that wall, is that false Israel is us. And so that gets us, because that's why our people are not buying that they're the true seed of Abraham, because that big lie right there is confusing people. But when they're taken down, Master Muhammad takes them down. Michael's angels go against the dragon and his angels. When Jerusalem is surrounded by armies, his destruction is near, means they're going to be destroyed. When that happens, that's abomination of desolation. That says flee, because they're going to realize there's no ambiguity anymore. We're true to Abraham. They're going to come at us immediately. And it ain't going to be the police. It ain't going to be the army, because they got time, take time to get there. It says you got to flee immediately. You can't go in the house to get your cell phone. You can't get your baby. You can't nothing. You got to flee immediately, because it's going to be your next door neighbor, because they're going to realize who you really are. That means if we are true to Abraham, we are the gods, after the gods. That means they are the devils. They are all the stuff that they claim we were. And they all this hell they're going through, because they're going to be at war in Europe at that time. They're going to be, they just got to kick their ass kicked in the Middle East, right? They got insurrection going on in America, all the stuff that's going on. And they're going to realize, because remember, those 9 plagues, the first plague was 2020. 1619 to 2019, 400 years. 400 years, that's what Abrahamic covenant. Read it. Most of you don't know anything about it. It's in the Old Testament and New Testament. 400 years, enslavement and affliction. After that, a plague will come and kill the firstborn, that's the elderly, and pass over us. The World Health Organization published a paper months ago that they can understand why it was passed over Black Africa, Haiti, and every place, black folks. So they stopped talking about we was dropping like flies anymore, didn't they? Because it was a lie. See? So that proves the plague happened right on time. 2020 came in on time. That's the first, and then there's 9 more. That represents the War of Armageddon. And what was the purpose of those plagues? But to get us out of here. And when they realized that they suffering all this stuff because of us, because the word's going to go out. And the evangelicals, all this, the word's go out because they've been telling everybody that false Israel is the real thing, that when they get in trouble, they're going to call on Jesus, and Jesus is going to save them and wipe out everybody else when it doesn't happen that way. In fact, they get wiped out when that's supposed to happen. That means they couldn't possibly be true to Abraham. That means God's come and destroy them, and they got his pride by the tail. They got a lion by the tail. You know, if you let him go, he's going to let go. He's going to turn around and eat you. They ain't going to let us go. They're going to be forced to, but they ain't going to want to. That's the limit that Pharaoh had. Okay, let him go. And then on the way out, he's changed his mind. He said, kill them all. But read those stories carefully, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. So I think I'm going to leave it there. The Great Separation is going to happen soon, this year. As soon as that war breaks out in the Middle East, that's going to happen. And that's when Farrakhan and his clan, we shut down. Throw them back to the swine days, and they're going to get to fight with each other. We don't care. We're trying to save you, brothers and sisters, as many as you can. Get the hell out of here. Because those who understand, as the Quran says, You will not hear the faintest sound of the ragings and roarings of hell, because you be on Master Muhammad's fortress. Those wheels flying around, you be there. You're gonna have a box. You have a box office seat. Watch all the hell going on. You won't bother you at all. That's what we're trying to get you, brothers and sisters. See, you have a choice. Farrakhan tell you to have a choice. We ain't going nowhere. That was called Elijah Muhammad and Master Muhammad a liar, because their whole purpose was to tell us we're going back home. Elijah Muhammad said, and we have it on tape saying it, not no transcript, that we'll be fools to want to stay here in the land of our imprisonment. That our ancestors would rise up in judgment against us because we didn't want to return home and get the hell out of here. But Farrakhan says the opposite. Who's a liar? That's why Muhammad said the devils cannot be redeemed at all. I said he's going to redeem them. So we know the demons going to listen, that's fine. But if you're still trapped in that, brothers and sisters, that's up to you. Because your salvation is in your hands. We're not going to force you to be saved. We're not going to force you to get out of here. If you want to go to the sink route, the tribulation, fine. It's up to you. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there. Remembering the Holocaust. And to our audio brothers and sisters, we're going to call it a day. Thank you for listening. This is the Black Alert segment of Fire Zone. Fire Zone out. And the audio audience, thanks for listening. Remember the Holocaust? Don't let them fool you with this slavery stuff. Remember the Holocaust? Well, I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to let you forget either. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.